great to have you watching CNN Student News. This is our second to last show of the school year. I'm Carl Azus, and I'm glad to bring it to you. We've covered a lot of back and forth this week surrounding a controversial prisoner exchange. In order to bring home Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, the last American captive from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the Obama administration okayed the release of 5 high-ranking members of the Taliban, Afghanistan's former rulers who have ties to terrorists. A new video from the Taliban shows the moments when Sergeant Bergdahl was released. He's taken from a truck, walked over to U.S. Special Forces who were seen shaking hands with Taliban members, and put aboard a Black Hawk helicopter. A U.S. senator says this video will likely be used as propaganda by the Taliban. That group has called this exchange a big victory. The Obama administration, which has been criticized by Democrats and Republicans over the exchange, says it needed to act fast because Bergdahl's health was in jeopardy. As debate over that continues, Randy Kay looks into the history of prisoner exchanges.
Prisoner swaps in America are as old as the country itself. Think back to the American Revolutionary War, when President George Washington exchanged enemy prisoners for Americans. This letter from the National Archives, written by Washington himself, lays out the terms of one such exchange. President Madison swapped prisoners too during the War of 1812, trading the enemy for American military personnel. Abraham Lincoln also traded enemy fighters for American soldiers. Fast forward to 1962, when Francis Gary Powers, an American U-2 pilot, was released by Russia in exchange for a convicted Soviet spy named Rudolf Abel. Powers' plane was downed in 1960 during a reconnaissance flight over Moscow. The two were exchanged in the middle of a bridge between East Germany and West Germany. Powers' family was informed just 5 minutes before the White House announced it. In March 1991, at the end of the First Gulf War, Iraq accepted the terms of a ceasefire. That led to an exchange of POWs, including 35 Americans, which were freed and sent to Riyadh. As many as 20 prisoners from Allied forces were handed over too.
Every one of them's a hero. They look happy to be home, happy to be in freedom.
But what about an ongoing conflict, when a U.S. soldier is being held by a designated terrorist organization? On that score, there does not seem to be any precedent. Randy Kay, CNN, New York.
Welcome to the roll call. Look up in the sky. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Golden Eagles, y'all. The Ferndale High School Golden Eagles are watching. They're perched in Washington State. Over in Belle Plaine, Minnesota, we see some tigers on the prowl. Hello to Belle Plaine Junior High. And in the Peach State, in the city of Griffin, Georgia, it's the Mustangs of Rehoboth Road Middle School rounding out today's roll. It's happened before. A hailstorm struck the Woodhouse Auto family, a car dealership outside of Omaha, Nebraska, and people from all over called up looking for discounts. The hail that hit this week was the size of baseballs. It dropped on 4,300 vehicles. Company officials estimate the damage it caused at $162 million. Police say 20 people in the area were taken to the hospital with injuries. The line of severe storms that hit the nation's heartland brought at least 12 reports of possible tornadoes. Trees are down, power's knocked out, and flooding stranded some folks in Nebraska. Severe weather was headed east last night. Storms are expected in the mid-Atlantic states today. It's been 5 years since the Great Recession officially ended. This was the economic downturn that hit between 2007 and 2009, but it's still having effects on people. CNN Money says the recovery of U.S. jobs has been the slowest ever. More Americans are using food stamps than ever. Wages are rising, but barely. Is this all taking a toll on the American dream?
The American dream is this national ideal, the goal of prosperity and success. But in CNN Money's American Dream poll, 59% of people say, regardless of how you define it, it's not achievable. Young adults are the most pessimistic. They've had a hard time finding good jobs as the country recovers from the recession. And there are already concerns about the next generation, too. 63% of Americans say that most children in the U.S. will not be better off than their parents. The problem is that while most people are managing to tread water, that's not translating into solid financial security. But not everybody's on board with these findings. The Brookings Center says the American dream isn't dead and that these negative perceptions aren't necessarily supported by facts, since 2 major studies earlier this year showed that the ability to climb the economic ladder has not changed significantly over time. I'm Allison Kosick in New York.
Time for the shout out. Where would you find the line, water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink? You know what to do. Is it in The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Moby Dick, The Old Man and the Sea, or Seabiscuit? You've got 3 seconds. Go. Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner has this line about being surrounded by seawater. None of it drinkable. That's your answer, and that's your shout out.
Of course, if those sailors had only been able to desalinate that water to take the salt out of it, then they could have drunk it. The basic process of converting seawater to drinking water is ancient, but doing this on a large scale is difficult and expensive. The fact that more than 70% of Earth is covered by ocean inspires scientists to keep on trying.
With California experiencing one of the worst droughts in the state's history, access to fresh water has never been more important or more difficult. Here in Southern California, the largest desalination plant in the Western Hemisphere is being constructed. It will soon take water from the ocean and create 50 million gallons of fresh water a day.
California is in a serious drought right now, and any new water supplies are important to the region.
Well, we have a $190 billion economy in this region that's dependent on water. The question you need to consider is, what's the cost of not having enough water?
Unlike, let's say, water that comes from rainfall or water that comes from snowpack, we're utilizing what essentially is the world's largest reservoir, the Pacific Ocean.
The Carlsbad desalination plant will cost approximately $1 billion. The fresh water will be pumped 10 miles underground to a regional delivery system, providing water to an additional 300,000 San Diego County residents.
Customers, they won't know whether they're drinking desalinated water or not.
That's right. That's right. It'll just become part of the overall supply.
Through a process called reverse osmosis, the plant will convert every 2 gallons of seawater into 1 gallon of fresh water, filtering out 99.9% of the salt. The salt, or brine, that's removed is discharged back into the ocean. The desalination process traditionally takes a lot of energy. A plant this size would normally use as much energy in a single day as 70 homes in a year. Officials at the Carlsbad plant say theirs will use 46% less energy. The project is not without criticism. Environmentalists point out that desalination requires a lot of energy, and that brine discharge can negatively impact marine life.
So we're creating more marine wetlands at the south end of San Diego Bay to create new habitat so fish can reproduce there. With respect to the brine discharge, we dilute the brine with seawater before it leaves the site.
The plant is expected to be completed in 2016.
And everybody is extremely excited to see this project coming online and providing us with a new water supply.
Before we go, many of you probably felt like this morning.
Wake up, Thor. You have to get up, Thor. You have to get up. You cannot lay down all day.
But that's all Thor the Great Dane wants to do. He's dog tired. To the puppy's credit, this video was taken at 3:30 in the morning when his owners have to get up to open their bagel shop. But no matter what they say or what they do, Thor just wouldn't deign to get out of bed. He finds just the thought of it alarming. Oh, he probably dreams of activities like snorkeling or sleepwalking, but if you ask him to leave all that in his wake, he'll probably just choose to sleep on it. I'm Carl Azuz. Our last show of the school year is tomorrow. We hope you're up for it.